The night everything changed began with the kind of fear that crawls up your spine before you even understand why, the kind that makes your heartbeat feel louder than the traffic around you, and it happened in a cracked gas station parking lot glowing under flickering fluorescent lights where danger felt closer than safety, where one wrong glance could mean you never make it home, and where a single whispered warning would turn an ordinary moment into a story that would never let go of the people who heard it. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that strangers can still save lives in this world, take a second right now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs hope, and comment below telling us where you're watching from, because stories like this connect people across places in ways nothing else can. Ethan Miller had not planned to stop at that gas station. He was 24, exhausted, broke, and running on the kind of stubborn hope that comes from believing tomorrow might finally be better. His old sedan coughed its way into the lot just as the fuel light blinked angrily, forcing him to pull in despite the uneasy feeling he got the moment he parked. The town was unfamiliar, one of those half-forgotten places along the highway where the buildings looked tired and the shadows felt too heavy. Ethan had been driving all day after leaving a job that had drained him dry and a relationship that ended without closure, chasing the idea of starting over in a new city where nobody knew his failures. He stepped out of the car with his hoodie pulled tight, feeling small against the vast dark sky, unaware that eyes were already watching him. Inside the station, the air smelled of burnt coffee and dust. Ethan grabbed the cheapest snacks he could find, counting coins in his palm, his shoulders tense as laughter echoed from outside. Through the glass, he noticed a group of men gathered near the edge of the lot, leather vests catching the light, heavy motorcycles lined up like silent animals ready to strike. The symbol on their backs was unmistakable even to someone who had never been close to that world. Hell's Angels. His stomach tightened as instinct told him to keep his head down, pay quickly, and leave. He reminded himself not to judge, not to let stereotypes rule his fear, but fear does not listen to reason when it senses danger. When Ethan walked back outside, the night felt colder. One of the men peeled away from the group and began walking toward him, boots heavy against the pavement. Ethan's thoughts raced, every warning he'd ever heard crashing into his mind at once. He told himself to stay calm, not to run, not to look weak, even as his heart pounded so hard it hurt. The man was older, broad-shouldered, his beard streaked with gray, eyes sharp but strangely focused, like someone who had seen too much of the world to be careless anymore. As he passed close to Ethan, barely slowing his stride, he leaned just enough for his breath to brush past and murmured words so quiet they almost blended into the hum of the night, a warning delivered with urgency and precision, telling Ethan he was in danger and to pretend he was his dad. Time seemed to fracture in that instant. Ethan's body reacted before his mind could catch up. Confusion, fear, disbelief all collided, but something in the man's eyes had carried a weight of truth that cut through everything else. Ethan turned slightly, forcing a nervous laugh, moving closer to the biker as if recognizing him, as if relief had replaced anxiety. His voice shook as he followed along, playing the role he did not understand, his pulse screaming in his ears. The biker placed a heavy arm around Ethan's shoulders, firm but protective, and began steering him away from the pumps toward the motorcycles, his posture changing from passerby to guardian in a heartbeat. Behind them, the energy in the parking lot shifted. Ethan felt it before he saw it, the way the night seemed to hold its breath. The biker's grip tightened just enough to communicate urgency without panic. As they moved, Ethan caught a glimpse of two figures near his car, hands too close to the door, movements too deliberate to be coincidence. Realization hit him like ice water. The danger had been real, immediate, and already unfolding. The biker spoke loudly now, his voice casual but commanding, filling the space, anchoring the illusion that Ethan belonged with him, that he was protected by something larger and more dangerous than whoever had been watching. They reached the motorcycles, and the biker stopped, turning Ethan so he stood squarely beside him. The group of riders shifted subtly, an unspoken understanding rippling through them. The men near Ethan's car hesitated, their confidence faltering as they assessed the scene, the numbers, the reputation implied by the patches on those vests. Within moments, they retreated into the darkness without a word, disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. Only then did Ethan realize he had been holding his breath. The biker finally released him, stepping back, his expression unreadable but his eyes softer now. Ethan's legs felt weak, his mind struggling to process how close he had come to something terrible. The man nodded once, a small gesture heavy with meaning, and returned to his group as if nothing extraordinary had happened. No speeches, no demands for gratitude, just a quiet return to the night. Ethan stood there shaking, the weight of the moment pressing down on him, understanding that a stranger had chosen to act, to warn, to protect, when it would have been easier to walk away. Ethan left the gas station shortly after, hands trembling on the steering wheel, the road ahead blurred by tears he hadn't expected. He drove for miles before pulling over, letting the adrenaline drain, replaying every second in his mind. He thought about how close he had been to losing everything, about how someone society often paints as dangerous had been the one to step in when no one else noticed. That night cracked something open inside him. It challenged the way he saw people, the assumptions he carried, the walls he kept up to survive. In the weeks that followed, Ethan reached his new city, but he wasn't the same person who had left. The memory of that night stayed with him, surfacing in quiet moments, guiding small choices. He volunteered more, listened more, judged less. When he saw someone struggling, he remembered how it felt to be unseen and how one act of courage had changed his trajectory. He began telling the story, not for attention, but as a reminder that humanity often shows up in unexpected forms, that good and evil are rarely as simple as we want them to be. Years later, Ethan would look back on that night as a turning point, not because something terrible happened, but because something beautiful almost did not. He never saw that biker again, never learned his name, but the impact of that whisper followed him through his life like a quiet promise that kindness can be fierce, that protection can come from the most unlikely places, and that sometimes survival hinges on a stranger caring enough to speak up. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion still exists even in dark places, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and leave a comment to help this message reach others who need it. And before this story ends, I want to ask you one special thing. Comment below with the words, "I believe in second chances," if you're still here listening. Because somewhere out there, someone is standing in the dark, waiting for a sign that they're not alone, and your engagement might be that sign.